It's hard to watch the news. It seems like everything's going wrong. How do you stay positive when everything's going wrong? Let's take that on. We're all about positivity here on the channel. And it's a legitimate question. When everything is going wrong in this world, how do you stay positive? I've written up a summary in Portable Positivity. Some of you already have this little mini book. If you don't, click in the description on the link there that will give you a free digital copy. This gives you the model behind most of what I'm going to talk about today. So rather than repeating all of that, you can get it in the mini book. Let's go to 5 specific things that you can do to increase your positivity when everything's going wrong. First of all, let's take a look at that. Things are going wrong? What do we mean by that? Notice that we take that position sometimes because we have an expectation. And our expectation of how things should go is violated. And that's how we know that things are going wrong. I love that I get to illuminate the obvious in my job because the processes in our mind are obvious once they're called to your attention, but you don't even notice them until they're called to your attention. So notice that you're judging this to be wrong. One of my clients recently sat down on the couch in my office and said, "Dr. Paul, this just is not the way that it should be." What he meant was, this isn't the way I expected my life to turn out. My wife and I were watching a movie years ago. It's called Dan in Real Life. And one of the quotes from that movie that has stuck with me all of these years is that we should teach our kids to expect to be surprised. What if we expected to be surprised? Then we wouldn't get all tipped over when things don't happen the way that we want them to happen or the way we think they should happen. Expect to be surprised. This isn't bad news. It's just the way that we roll here. Notice that it happens. Realizing that you are judging your circumstances and determining that this is bad, it's not the way that it should be. Let's go to the next tip that I have for you. This is going to be hard. I'll give you that disclaimer right up front. Don't worry about the fact that it's hard. Just try it. Practice saying, "This is good." Or some variation of that. "Well, this is perfect for me. This is exactly how it should be." You're going to practice saying that because your mind is saying something else. "This isn't the way it should be. This is bad." Okay. The truth of the matter is, it is what it is. We put a judgment on it and then we say that it's good or bad. Painful is not necessarily bad. I'm playing basketball one morning. I do this about 3 times a week. It's for my health, including my mental health. My wife laughs at me because most of our emergency room bills are from my basketball activities. I'm doing it for my health. I was playing basketball one morning when I came down on top of someone's foot and I turned my ankle. I heard the pop. I felt the excruciating pain racing up my leg and I knew that I had sprained my ankle. Oh, this hurts. If you've experienced this before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I slumped to the floor. And as I'm writhing on the floor, grabbing at my ankle, I hear myself say these words, "This is perfect." I wasn't being sarcastic. "Oh, this is perfect." I said, "This is perfect." Through my pain, I'm in tears. It's really hard. I had practiced saying this. Now, here's what it did for me. It didn't fix my ankle. Although I'm convinced that if we take this approach, this positive approach, It assists our body to heal from the stuff that's going on there too. And I think it did help me to heal quicker. But here's what it did for me. It changed my mind. And I had practiced it enough that in a moment of pain, I could say with sincerity, this is perfect. Folks, I didn't even know why or how it was perfect at the time. I just knew that I wanted to take that position, and that from that position, I'd be able to create something. Now you're probably thinking, oh wow, Dr. Paul is really off of his rocker now. What I experienced with that was an increase in my joy. And I'm all about joy, okay? Thinking about it in that way allowed me to experience joy in the moment. And joy and pain sometimes come together. You ask any mom, she knows. It is extremely painful to go through childbirth. And as those children come into the world, in the midst of that pain is intense joy. Let's separate the two in our mind. Pain and bad are not the same thing. You can experience the joy. Take the position, this is good, this is perfect, I'm right on schedule. Choose it on purpose and then practice it. The next tip comes from a friend and associate of mine. I like to call her a friend. She's really one of my heroes. Jeannie Robertson is one of the funniest G-rated, family-friendly comedians on the planet. She's 6'2", thick Southern accent, and hilarious. If you get a chance to look her up, you're going to have some fun. Jeannie has a motto, and I'm going to use that as our next tip. It is, find the funny. Find the funny. There are hilarious things happening all around us in this world that we sometimes interpret as negative. What if we were to look for and find the funny? Would that help us to stay positive in a negative situation? Absolutely. In fact, some of the most painful things that can happen to us after a period of healing can be looked back on as some of the funniest things that have happened to us. I think of spraining my ankle and how ridiculous I must have looked down there on that gym floor. I think of how the other people that were there with me that morning must have been thinking I was completely off my rocker, and they didn't know which part of the hospital to take me to, the emergency room or the psych ward. I don't know. Finding the funny gives you stories, and it adds richness to your life. I'm thinking of my good friend Bob Kittel. Bob, thank you for sharing this story with me. He was in Mexico speaking for a big convention. He got into an accident where the car he was in rolled several times. He was injured, but retained his sense of humor. And I'm glad that he did, because he took some selfies. He got some pictures of what happened afterwards. When they were wheeling him into the hospital, he's got a picture of himself looking up and pointing toward the sky. There were 2 vultures circling overhead as he's being wheeled into the hospital. That's funny. He took the time to find the funny. And I think it accelerated his healing. At the very least, it creates a much more enjoyable experience in life. One of the tools that I'm a strong advocate for can become our next tip, and that is to think about your thinking. Metacognition is the term that we use for this, and that's a fancy term, I know. It's one of the ones we make up in psychology because it makes us feel smart to make up words. If you break it down, cognition means thinking. If we put that at this level, metacognition is a higher level. It's thinking about thinking. Notice that you can do this. Metacognition is powerful because it creates a space. And in that space is where choice exists. Until we see it as a choice, it's not. The world is going to go on and do whatever the world does. And there will be crimes committed, and there will be natural disasters that occur. It's part of our experience here. Thinking about our thinking allows us to go higher than what we would normally think. Oh, this is bad. We live in a terrible world. No, we don't. We live in an amazing, blessed world. And we can see that when we think about our thinking. And notice how we're doing the two processes that I explained in the book. Again, if you want to connect to that mini book, I'll give you a free digital copy of it. Just click on the link down there in the description, and you can get a free digital copy of that. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Two processes, evaluation and creation. And you can't turn either one of them off. I'm not trying to tell you how to think. I honestly don't have that kind of authority. I want you to see that you are thinking and take some responsibility for how you're operating the equipment here. That's why metacognition, thinking about your thinking, is so important. It puts you back in control and it gives you some element of choice. That's going to change the game for you. As you do that, you're going to make some realizations. Some of them are going to be kind of painful. Because when you think about your thinking, you'll see very quickly that we all, you included, fall into a paradigm, a worldview, a way of thinking. And there's only two, basically. All of the self-help books, all of the personal development, all of the psychology I've read supports this idea. There are two determinant paradigms. I label them noxious negativity or the victim paradigm versus pathological positivity or the agent paradigm. I've set them up that way. The negative victim paradigm has us blaming and saying, why me? And complaining and bellyaching about this terrible life that we have. And it creates captivity and stuckness. The positivity paradigm on this side, the agent paradigm, is the exact opposite. And it creates for us freedom, where instead of blame, we take responsibility. And instead of saying, why me? We say, why not me? I had a powerful experience with one of my clients. 17-year-old David comes into my office. He's in tears. Little context, I had seen David 10 years earlier when he was 7. When he was 7, his parents brought him in. 7-year-olds don't make appointments with me. He was being abused by 2 older boys in the neighborhood. Now, I hate abuse. Don't get me started. That's probably another video. But you can see why his parents were concerned. I worked with him to understand something. What kinds of kids get abused? How would you answer that? Well, we got David to the right answer, which is, it's the kind who are available to an abuser. No fault of their own. It's not the kids who deserve it, is it? No. All kids who are available to an abuser are at risk, whether through relationship or vulnerability or whatever it is. Well, he got it. He had supportive parents and we were able to work through it. And pretty soon he's on his way. Well, he's back at age 17. Guess what? It's happening again. Except this time it's the high school volleyball coach that's abusing him. Wow. Again, I hate abuse. Don't get me started. But here's David crying and he's asking, why me? Why me, Dr. Paul? I've been through this before. Why is this happening again? Why me? Why? Okay. That is a victim paradigm. Without making any arguments for the abuser and his poor choices, let's focus on David. I listened for a while. I'm empathic. I'm a psychologist. I was listening. At some point, I stopped him. I said, David, why not you? He almost comes out of the chair. He's like, shut up. Right? He's 17. I said, no, think about it. Seriously. Why not you? What kind of kids get abused? Oh yeah, it's the kind that are available to an abuser. He knew that. Well then, David, which of your friends would you pick to take your place? Name somebody. Who do you want to be abused instead of you? Well, he wouldn't wish that on his worst enemy. And besides, David, who better than you? The fact that you've been through this before means you have skills and tools and resources. You've got parents who are supportive. You've got a counselor you can already talk to. Who better than you to take this on? You got this, man. He started to straighten up in that chair and he said, you know what, Dr. Paul? You're right. And I love it when people say that. But anyway, you're right, Dr. Paul. I can handle this, huh? I said, yes, you can. Why not me? I got this. It changed everything. Folks, it did not change the fact that he was abused, did it? No. What did it change? It changed his mind. It put him in a position where now he gets to be in control of this thing, not his evil abuser. We give them way too much power in the victim paradigm. Choose an agent paradigm and move forward with power. You're never wrong about how you feel. How you feel is 100% consistent with the way your mind is doing the processes that we talk about in the mini book. And how are you supposed to feel when you're in pain? Well, you're supposed to feel pain. If you're being abused, or if you sprain your ankle, or if somebody divorces you, or if you go bankrupt, whatever it is, you've got this, and you can stay positive. You guys get me fired up about this stuff because I know that you can do it. You can stay positive no matter what. Remember to connect with that mini book that I told you about. It's in the description down below. It's called Portable Positivity, and I'll give you a free digital copy. Just go connect through that link.
Standing in the street alone. Her head was down, face like